We talked about, too, in other segments and episodes of different shows, we talked about the elder abuse and how they're targeted as well. So that audience definitely would be well served to understand what this is and how it's, it targets them, how it's carried out toward them. So Tanya, you work with CoFence, you're the Chief Information Security Officer. Tell us what you're seeing, from that kind of perspective, from the enterprise perspective.
So from the enterprise perspective, so you mentioned that we have 5 phishing defense centers, and so that has really given us some great insight into what our organization's really being targeted with. The number one threat that we see, as well it is with consumer, right, credential phish, right, because with your credentials I have power, right, and that is the top threat that we see. But then we also see some malware being delivered. And then we see the BEC, the business email compromise, but that has started to shift even to some conversation where maybe, we heard about some big breaches that happened in the last couple of years we talk about supply chain attacks. And so they go after small businesses that might not have the same protection, making their way into a larger organization, right? Because you're doing business with these small individual mom and pop businesses, right, that don't have the same controls, they don't have the same processes in place to double check things or know that it's coming from a spoofed website. So they might compromise that individual organization or get information from them, say, give me your accounts receivable register. And then now they have information about who they owe money to and the amounts of money, right? So now they're targeting those large organizations saying, hey, Becky's not with us today, or is no longer here. You need to pay me for this invoice that's past due, right? And so organizations can be taken by a threat actor who might be spoofing a well-known business, and so it becomes more and more challenging for somebody working in the finance department to know, is this really coming from this individual that I normally do business with? We also see them compromising an inbox, like getting access to an inbox to be able to set up forwarding rules to get messages forwarded to them based on keywords, looking for interactions that they're doing business with. Then they're able to take what we call reply chain. So using that existing email chain and then adding on to the conversation. So, so the things that we used to tell people look for, do you know this person? Do you recognize the company? All the things that we tell people to look for have now gone because now there's this thread of a conversation that was already happening with maybe somebody that they're familiar with, and now they're interacting with them and then potentially sending off, then sending them either links to malware or asking for money. So it becomes very complicated these days. It's not as simple as just looking out for things, right? We have to heighten our senses a little bit differently than what we did in the beginning when we were going after this phishing threat.
Absolutely. And Tanya, I love that you highlighted the small business aspect of it, how small businesses are targeted, and then what that can mean for not only them, but for the organizations that they serve.
Right.
I think a lot of times, because this is the scams that we've seen play out in the media have been the big ones.
Right.
Global companies in some cases, or national companies that are serving the entire nation. But those small businesses are at risk as well, and they're targeted for the exact reason that you stated, because they can provide access to a much bigger, target in some cases.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, because a lot of times they think, we're just a small mom and pop business. It's just us. Nobody really cares about us.
Right.
They're not targeting us. We don't have enough money. But actually, you're exactly who they're looking for.
You're maybe not the money that you have, but you're a resource to some of the bigger fish that they're after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When we come back, we'll talk more about phishing and how malicious actors are targeting consumers as well as businesses. We'll be right back.